Hi everyone, you're with Lucy from Art Shed Angel. I'm excited today to show you my new You Go Girl stamp range. So they are being created by Couture Creations with my designs, and there are lots of designs and mix and match things that go together. Lots of colouring and fun stuff. If you want to check out my classes, my colouring classes, or any of my mixed media classes, please check the links below. Let's get started. So these stamps are being manufactured by Couture Creations, and I'm really excited to have them here to show you. So there are many stamps in the range. We've got the girls, we've got words. I'll put them up so you can have a look, and I'll put links and everything up there for you as well. Now, they are coming out at the same time as Couture Creations' beautiful new set of alcohol ink markers, and these are terrific for coloring. It's just perfect that they've come out all together, and we have a choice of all these beautiful ways to color our stamps, so it's very, very exciting. At the same time, we have also got new glitter inks available, and these make just perfect backgrounds. So we've got lots of different colors, and I also will put a list of them in the description as well. But I'm going to show you quickly how to color one of these girls. So the first thing I'm going to do is stamp the girl. Now I have just put two of the stamps on my stamping platform. Now my platform's not very clean because I use it a lot, and I'm not worried what it looks like, but I'm just making sure that the paper here is lined up on the right hand side along that ruler edge. Then I'm going to just ink my stamps up, and I'm using an ink that I can use with alcohol ink markers. Now Couture Creations is coming out with an ink like that, and will be available really soon. Now I like to use an ink that is light coloured. So you can see here, just make sure we've got her all. I've used a grey ink, and one of the reasons I've used the grey ink is because it's easier to colour, I find, without getting any smudging of black or anything on there. So now, because I know that I've put it here and I'm going to leave those stamps on here, I'm going to colour it. So we'll just put these aside, and I'll show you some colouring. So I'll just move in and zoom in a little bit. So I've coloured, I've got two of them here. I'm just going to colour this one to start off with. And to show you these great pens, these pens have a end which is like a bullet tip, and you can do fine detail with that, and they have a brush tip. Now the brush tip is my favorite, and there's some fantastic skin colors available, so you'll be able to do all different flesh tones, from light flesh tones to dark flesh tones, and I will be making some videos showing that. So the first one here I'm going to use is light skin color, and I'm also going to use some warm grey, so it's 401 155. I'm also going to use peach, which is 3572. Also pastel yellow, which is 712. So they're the ones I'm going to use to start off with, plus the 489, which is skin color. And I just test them to make sure that they're the color I want. Now the trick with coloring with these pens is making sure that you get an even wetness on your work. So I'm going to just do her face first. I'm not going to try to do the whole picture, and the more I go over it, the more saturated the paper is, and that will give me much easier blending. So I'm just doing her face first. Okay, now I want a bit of peachy colour skin to her. Now she looks a little bit blotchy at the moment, but as she dries, she will dry much softer. So I'm just putting some peach here on her cheeks, Now the beauty of this is I'm going to go back to my other colour, and while this is still wet, I'm going to blend this in so I get a nice soft look to her face. So this is where these pens are terrific, because when we start to blend, we get a nice soft face. Now that is going to lighten down quite significantly. Now you also want to have some shadowing, obviously. So I'm using this darker colour, and this one here is the warm grey. And I'm using that to put some shadow areas. So under her nose, under her lips, I'm adding some shadow area. Now, because my paper is quite wet at this stage, this is already blending well. And what these pens do great is once we get the paper to a certain wetness, it blends well. If you look at it and you think, oh, that's a little bit dark, you can always come through with your other colour and just soften it off, and that just blends it in and gives you the softer edges. So I'm just going to go down through to the neck now and colour. Now I will show you that you can do her in many different ways. You can make her cute, you can make her look a little bit like Morticia from the Addams Family. You can do her in many different skin tones. So here I'm just adding a little bit of dark, and I want a bit of dark under her chin for shadow. So I'm just doing this for a little bit of shadow, and you can see there she's starting to take on some shape. I'll put some on her arm, and it is quite simple and fast colouring. And I love the ability to layer. So here where we've got the shadow on the arm, it blends in nicely. So these are the new Couture Creations alcohol ink markers. Now I've given her face a slightly more peachy look, and I can add that now with that over the top. So you can layer these pens quite beautifully. And that looks quite dark at the moment, but you'll see that as I get the other bits in there, it will tone down. And alcohol ink markers, they always look a little bit darker when you're working on them to start off with, because the paper gets a little bit wet. But as soon as the paper starts to dry, we get a much smoother kind of finished look about it. Okay, so now I'm going to do her outfit, and I think I'm going to do it in violet. So I'm going to put some of this dark violet. Now, you don't even have to colour these dots if you don't want to. You could have done it quite a bit easier and just did them solid. So I'm putting some violet there, and I'm using the dark one. Then I'm going to go to a lighter one and blend the lighter one into the darker one here. This is where the colorways that they've chosen are really good, because we can easily get lovely shading effects. Now if I go slightly lighter again, I can do her shoulder so that it looks really effective. So her shoulder actually looks like it's standing out a little bit more, and because I've got that, I can blend the purple into it a little bit, and they really do blend together, and then you've got that nice shape to her shoulder. Okay, so now I'm just going to add a little bit more of this darker colour to her arm, a bit of the shading on her arm. And let's do her hair. So for her hair this time, I'm going to do like a burgundy colour. But this is the beautiful thing about this too. I can do a colour underneath. So I'm using this kind of goldy brown colour and just colouring her hair in this goldy brown colour. And I want to do like auburn hair here, so just doing that. And the brush tip makes it so easy for you to colour. Always turn your work over if you have trouble getting detail in a certain way. Now I'm colouring this quite quickly, okay? So you could do a little bit slower than I am, but you can see here with the brush tip, it really is quite quick to colour. Get that in there. Okay, now I want to get this maroony colour over the top, and why I'm doing that is I really want her hair to be quite dark but still have little gold highlights. So to do that, we're just going to go around these bits, make sure we get it neat around her hand. But now I'm going to go through and leave streaks of this goldy colour through her hair, and that gives us bits of interest and body and texture. So, you know, when you see hair, it almost looks like she's got streaks. So just colouring it like that. Now there is a blender pen, which is a clear blender pen, which you can use, like it's a colourless blender, and you can use that for blending. But to be honest, I actually like using the actual colours for blending. So I'm going to go back to that goldy colour that I initially used, and when I take that through her hair, I can blend that brown that was there before, and you end up with a really nice, warm, interesting effect. Now I'm going to stamp black over this later, so it will actually look even better soon. Now I'm going to do her eyes green, and when I do green eyes, I always put a little bit of yellow in there. So her eyes, I'm going to put some green in there, and you can use a bullet tip for this. So I leave a bit of yellow showing. Eyes are interesting things. They should have lots of colours in them. And I'm just going to take a bit of turquoise as well and just put a little bit of that in the top of the eye. Now her eyes look kind of odd because we really need to stamp over the top of this again. Now her lips, this one says purple. I think we're going to do red lips on her, and I'm going to do 2 different shades of red. So I'm going to go back to, let me have a look. I'm going to use wine red and do her top lip in wine red, and her bottom lip I'm going to do in the brighter red. And that way it just adds a little bit of texture and colour and shape to it. So her sunglasses could be any kind of colour, but I'm going to do her sunglasses in a, I don't know, I think she's going to have brown. Oh no, not brown. Oh, it's so hard to decide. I think I'm going to do her sunglasses in a bit of a grey colour. And I'm going to put lots of light on her sunglasses. So what I'm doing here is leaving a lot of highlights. So when you're doing it, make sure you do it the same angle. And to blend that a little bit, I'm going to use some sky blue. And I'm going to put blue on her rings so she has a bit of a topaz ring. Now you could leave the dots on her dress that colour, or you could make them lime green. I love a bit of lime green and purple, so I'm just going to do a bit of green on her dress. She's looking a bit sassy now. Now I'm doing her again because I wanted to show you yet another way that you can colour her, and it goes for all the girls. There are so many different ways you can colour them. Now it is also important now that we get some shadow areas in, and I'm going to take a grey and down the side of her dress here, down the side of her arm, I'm going to add a little bit of grey to make sure we've got our dark areas. So a little bit of grey under her hair area there. So these bits of grey give your picture a bit of shape. Okay, and then I think we'll just do a bit of a goldy colour up the top here. I could have left this white as well, but you can see how juicy and easy and quick these pens are to colour with. Okay, so I'll just put the pens aside and I'm going to get my board again, and this time I'm going to use my jet black ink pad. I'm going to make sure that I've got this exactly in place again. This is important. I could paint her, I could have coloured her as well first, but I'm just going to do this one to start with. So then I'm just making sure that I fully ink up my stamp. I've made sure she's in the right place. So it's really important that you don't move any of this. And I'm going to stamp her. Now this is with my Stays in Place ink pad. And you can see there that she now has a beautiful neat border. So some of that, if I hadn't of done it this way, some of that would not have been quite as crisp and clear. So we've got this really cool girl. Look at her. She's got some nice shading. We could even go on a little bit darker on her face, but that's okay. And I'm just going to cut her out now. Now, like I said, this was stamped on marker paper. And the first stamping was just with an ink pad to place her, and the second one was the Stays in Place matte black, which is a really nice black to use. So just cut her out very quickly. I love these because you can cut her out without her background. So, you know, if you don't want a background behind her, cut the background away. You can do lots of other things. Or you can leave the background on. And you can see here now that I have coloured her in lots of different ways, and each time she's different. So you might have the same stamp, but if you colour her different ways, I haven't even done a blonde one yet, so if you colour different ways, I kind of very much like her, where I didn't do the dots, and you can see I've just done the colours like that. So what I'm going to do now is create a background to put her on. And for this, I am going to use this is synthetic paper, and I'm just looking at the colours that are in her. So I think the sunflower yellow would look nice, and I think even pumpkin. So I think some really kind of, and maybe apple. So I'm going to use these three colours. Now these are the glitter inks. Make sure you give them a good shake before you use them. Don't want that glitter sticking in the bottom of your page. Now I'm going to put her on top of something, put her aside so I don't damage her, which I have done many times. Okay, I don't even know if I'll use the green. Let's have a little look at what we end up with here. So I'm going to put some yellow. Now these are the glitter ones. Look at this beautiful glitter. And a bit of alcohol blending solution, my little blower, and I'm just going to spread this yellow. What I want is some nice tentacles or tendrils coming off. So I'm really excited to have these girls available all over the world actually, so that's really nice. But if you like my stamps and you like my artwork, please make sure you subscribe so that you get to see more of my stuff as it comes out. So I'm going to put a little bit of the apple on only because we've got a little bit of that green in her as well. Okay, now I'm going to dry this off with my heat gun. So this is a hair dryer, not a normal heat gun. Okay, so she's going to look really good on there, but there's also a stamp. There's a couple of things that come with this. So there is actually a stamp that comes with this. Okay, so for those of you who have not used the Stays in Place ink pads, they are really terrific. And you get a re-inker with each one. Now you need to make sure you shake this re-inker up because it does have a certain amount of pearlescent in it, and you want that pearlescent to go through the ink pad. So what I have here is I've got an ink pad and I've got my pearlescent, and I'm just going to put a little bit of this on here. Now you don't have to do this every time, but if you haven't used your ink pad for a few weeks, you may need to do this. The other thing you can also do is put a few drops of your alcohol blending solution on there, and that reinvigorates it. Now with this particular stamp comes this great, what I love texture stamps. So comes this really nice texture stamp, and I'm stamping it in this pumpkin color because I just want a bit of interest in here. It doesn't need to be a lot. It's probably a little bit hard for you to see. You can see here when I hold it at an angle. So this comes with your girl, and it's a terrific stamp to create a bit of background, a bit of interest, and they're all mix and match. So there's one of the other girls has little dots and things like that, and you've also got the words "You Go Girl," which I may use for this one. Okay, so there's also "Just for You." So between using your stamps, you need to make sure that you cover your ink pad back up again. So make sure your ink pad is fully covered up before you put it away. Okay, so that's going to go on there. Now the other beauty about this, I'm just going to take this piece of paper and I'm going to grab my lime pen And I'm going to do some of this lime pen on here. So with these pens you can really extend your cardboard colours. So you don't need to have as many colours anymore. So I'm going to put a little bit of this greeny colour. And then I'm going to take my stamp and I'm going to stamp it in the black. Stamp it straight onto my piece of cardboard. And I have my words ready to go and cut it into a little bit of a shape. So this is great when you want to add words and you just need to colour your cardboard with your pens. You can see this looks a little bit more interesting than just having the plain words. So I'm going to glue this together now and we'll have a look at how it all looks. So I'm going to now stick her onto another piece of card so that I have a ready-made card. And you can see I'm just going to put a bit of weight on her for the glue to dry and we have a finished card. And as I showed you before, there are so many different colorways that you can do this particular card. So got her in that colorway, which is very similar, different color eyes. I've got her in this way where she looks a little bit more swish, and I've got this one here with the red dots, and this is using some of the alcohol inks in the background each time I've used that. Now we have the other girls too. I've also done this girl, which I'll do a video on, where I've done shells in her hair instead of the flowers. But these are also flowers from the new You Go Girls set, and all these words and everything go with it. So I hope you have a go at this. I hope you have a look at the stamps. They are from Couture Creations and Art Shed Angel. You're with Lucy, and please make sure before you go you subscribe to my channel so that I can show you many more things, but also some more great colouring with these great stamps. So here we go. You go, girl. You're with Lucy. Check out my classes. I've got links below of all the things we've done today and links to my page so that you can join me on online classes. Thanks. Bye-bye.